much, everybody. This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax. Thank you.
Well, the timing suggests that it is a bit of a Hail Mary. These are the kinds of issues that really could have been raised and should have been raised a long time ago. Well, it would be a difficult case to get a jury to serve on, no matter where you had it in the country. Certainly, there's been a lot of media attention in New York, but I do think that they can, over time, and it may take some time to impanel a jury, but they will be able to find jurors who will be able to say that they will be able to make a decision impartially based solely on the evidence that's presented at the trial, and that they have no preconceived notions as to whether or not the defendant is guilty of the crimes. Well, whenever there's a very high-profile case that gets a lot of pretrial publicity, invariably people will have heard about the case. Certainly, if the person is a celebrity, or in this case, a former president, everybody knows who former President Trump is. Everybody will have an opinion one way or the other about him in terms of whether he was an effective president or not. But the real question here is, can they put all of those issues aside and simply make a decision based on the evidence that's presented in the courtroom? The ideal juror for prosecutors is somebody who, if they come upon a stoplight at 2:30 in the morning, and even if there are no cars in the intersection, they're going to sit there until the light turns green before they leave. That's what prosecutors look for: someone who is by the book, someone who appreciates the rule of law, someone who is a rule follower. From the defense side, the lawyers will be looking at somebody who might have a more varied background. They're going to be looking for jurors who are a bit of an iconoclast, somebody who is not necessarily a rule follower, someone who may have challenged the establishment in the past, someone who will take a fresh look at things and be willing to think outside the box. Typically, defendants who are convicted of falsifying business records in New York do not go to jail if it's a first offense. It's just not that serious a crime, generally speaking. But every case is different. And in this case, as in all other cases, a judge will consider multiple factors, including whether or not the defendant showed contrition, whether the defendant showed remorse, whether the defendant took the stand in their own defense and, according to the judge, may have perjured themselves. All of those issues will be factored in. And if a judge does find a lack of remorse, if a judge does find a defendant who does not acknowledge that there is a valid conviction here, he may well sentence the defendant to jail.
That's what.
I just wondered if we could get some of the cars turned.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really hard to predict because, again, this case is so unusual. Often defendants faced with a conviction here, if they're a first-time offender, will get no jail time at all. I don't think we're going to see a sentence that's going to be 5 or 10 years or anything of the sort. It will be much less than that. But this is the kind of case, as with most white-collar cases, that any jail time at all is a very serious sentence, because the defendants that go to trial in these cases, and certainly in the case of former President Trump, this is not a person who's ever spent a day in jail or ever expects to spend a day in jail. So if a judge does sentence someone to prison time, that, however long that is going to be perceived as a very harsh and a very serious sentence.